Welcome to the Halloween episode of Honest Designers.
Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross, and I'm the founder at designcuts.com. And this week I'm joined by American retro design expert Dustin Lee and the incredibly talented South African illustrator Lisa Glanz. This week we're getting spooky and bringing you a special Halloween episode of The Honest Designers. We dig into some of our all-time worst horror stories when it comes to freelancing and clients. So buckle up, because this episode gets flat out terrifying. Sorry for the horrendous evil laugh there, guys. So without further ado, let's get into the show.
No!
Welcome to this spooky episode of the Honest Designers Show.
Continue, Tom. Continue, please.
I nearly got through that with a straight face. It's my best spooky voice. What have you got?
Yeah.
What you got going on, Lisa?
Definitely not that.
So,
That's pretty good though, Tom.
this week's episode, we're going to be
Sure.
sharing designer horror stories. I have no idea how this episode is going to go. We're going to see what unfolds, but it was Dustin's idea. He was like, hey, Halloween's coming up. Why not get a bed? Spooky.
I'd say so far it's probably the best episode we've ever done. So let's try to keep the momentum going.
I think definitely our strongest intro. I mean, it's for anyone who's watching, listening to this rather, if you watch it on YouTube, Dustin's been gesticulating towards the camera with a Hamlet-style skull for the last 2 minutes, which is incredibly off-putting but quite scary. Okay, so as designers, I think we've all had these horror story moments, right? Whether
definitely.
it's with clients or, goodness forbid, Photoshop crashing. If you want to, if you want to get really scary about it.
That's not even funny.
Here's a question. In terms of like big stuff that's gone wrong, have you guys got a standout? Have you got one thing that springs to mind where you're like, that was just the worst?
Well, you just reminded me of the crashing thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was my own fault because I never saved, obviously. But I had spent, I don't know what got into me, like hours doing something in InDesign, laying out this hideously boring annual report or something. And for some reason, I just wasn't saving. It's really stupid. and it crashed. And normally I have backup. So I could at least go back to the previous one that I saved. And I didn't even have that. So I think I spent a day's work having to redo an entire day's work.
Oh,
and
that sucks.
I wasn't charmed. It was boring stuff. I think that's what was the worst of it. It was so boring.
And I've had that moment so many times where you're kicking yourself, but you're literally wishing that you could like teleport back. It's so
Totally.
painful, and you're just like, oh, like I have to redo the entire thing.
Yeah.
On a much more minor level, I used to have it because I did a lot of photo manipulation work and that kind of thing. And for some reason, I think I just found it quicker. I'd often use the lasso tool instead of the pen tool. And I'd get super quick. So I'd be cutting out these really large, complex photos, have about 1 billion anchor points. And what would often happen is you reach your maximum number of points that you can click. And then it just like cuts your thing in half, or even, which is fine because you can kind of add to the selection a little bit. But I'd also get it sometimes where it would do that and then I'd lose the selection. I can't remember how that even worked, and you couldn't get it back. And at points I'd spent like a full hour clicking, so it'd be like so it'd be like click 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 for an hour, like going around this super complex shape. This is like when my workflow was not the best, but I was learning all this stuff. And and then suddenly it's like gone. And then it's like, okay, back to square one. Click, click. And you're just going crazy. Okay,
so when that happened, did you, I mean, if that happened to me, I literally probably maybe would have broken my telephone. I don't know, would have broken something near me. And thought, shit, I'm not doing that again. I got to face it again tomorrow. Rather, do you just get back in the saddle and continue?
Pretty much, but
seriously, but that's really commendable.
It's like no, it's not great because you kind of suppress the urge to headbutt your own desk and then throw your laptop out the window, and then it's just like you're like, okay, that just happened. Back to square one, and you're getting like this nervous eye twitch where it's like, it's fine, twitch, like.
Maybe that's
funny because I'm much more like Lisa. Like that kind of thing happens. Like I'll start talking trash to my computer. Being like, like what kind of software are you? Like what kind of like your job? You're like literally a whole gigantic team of people built you to like do this, and like this is what you do to me, and like I'll literally like get angry, and then like I'll like it'll be like it's like a big fight with like a girlfriend or something like that. I'll be like, no, I'm done. I'm leaving. You can have this on your own. Like sit with yourself and think about it. Like I'm not. And I'll be like, I'm out. I'm going to watch Netflix. I'm going to go have some cereal. It's over.
Yeah.
Like it'll teach it a lesson. It feels like maybe it'll teach it a lesson.
Yeah,
but do you ever do this? Because I feel like this is sick. Sometimes in Illustrator, particularly, like I'll be like, I should probably save this before I attempt to do this because sometimes it crashes.
Yes!
And then something in my brain like tells me, no, just try it. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
And then I do it, and then it's like, and I'm like, I literally thought of saving it, but then like I just decided that I wouldn't, and I would just risk it.
Yes.
Have you ever done that? I'm like, why does my brain do that?
I don't know. You see, I always toss up the two. If I'm working on a really large file, I think, okay, this is going to take a while to save, which is really annoying, and I want to get on with what I'm doing. So
5 minutes
I risk it, and I go, I'm sure it's going to be fine. All I have to do is just apply that texture, or do this or do that, and then when you see that little thing going around that wheel, you just go, no.
But occasionally, after like I've left it for like 15-20 minutes and the wheel stops and it works again, which is super rare. It ordinarily just crashes. Super rare. Yeah, really rare. And sometimes it almost fixes itself, and it's like, yes, like the best feeling ever. I didn't just lose a day's worth of work.
I mean, I'm impressed that you're actually willing to wait 15-20 minutes.
Well, I think that's where I have walked away, and I'm like, I can't even look at you.
Oh, right. Okay. Because
you feel like, to keep this on a Halloween theme, like you feel like the devil should appear and be like, poof, and then be like, do you want to keep your Illustrator file? Sign your name here, and you can have it back right away. But you will have to give me something at the end of your life.
You've just made the devil like the campus man alive.
I was trying to do the Tenacious D version. Where they're like, play the best song in the world.
Because I'll eat your soul.
That's how I always picture the devil. Like, picture him having this really kind of,
What was the cartoon
voice?
We talked about this in the office the other day. I think it was Cow and Chicken, where they used to have the devil naked and he'd like rub his ass along the ground. Do you remember that? You remember that character? It was on Cartoon Network.
Sometimes I do feel like that.
Good imagery, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good imagery. I feel like if Illustrator was going to crash, it would at least make it like a little bit more entertaining for me if like a little devil showed up and like was laughing and dragging his butt across the ground. like he's like, this is your punishment.
Yes. I'd enjoy the crash then. Yeah, I so agree with that.
Because then you could at least like put it in your Instagram story and be like, yeah, maybe I just like superimpose that on top of it. That happens again.
They should totally do that.
They should.
Although some people wouldn't find the funny side.
What if the devil's dragging his ass actually crashes Illustrator? Even more.
Or like maybe like even like every time, because I'll tell you what, if you want to see the crashes drop on Illustrator dramatically, get the guy that's in head of the team that like takes care of crashes, and every time it crashes, have his picture pop up with his email address, Guarantee you, the crashes will like be like cut by 50% like within a year.
Yes.
That is genius.
Definitely. Oh, that's good stuff.
So, Dustin, have you got a standout spooky moment as a designer?
Ooh.
Yeah. I've got one that was like quite literally scary.
Go on.
Really?
I mean, not with
This
ghosts,
is gonna be good.
but I mean, well, maybe with ghosts.
You did a rebrand for the Mafia.
No. Hold on, let me wait for this garbage truck to go by.
And if anyone hears dogs, like horror-style hounds barking in the background, that is not a sound effect that we've added. That is Lisa Street going crazy in the spirit of the show today.
I thought you were going to say that's Lisa.
Yeah. We're trying to keep her down, but...
Like when she gets upset, she's like, ow!
Ow! Ow, 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 ow!
Okay, so here's my story, and this is how scary this is. I can't even give you exact names for fear of my safety.
Wow.
So
juicy.
Legit. It makes me a little nervous to do this. So I'm going to like...
Color me intrigued, Dustin.
Okay, so it was... Well, it wasn't really a dark and stormy night. It was a day in my office with no work back when I first started like trying to freelance as a designer, and like I was doing a bunch of 99 design competitions. That's not scary enough to start. I did one, and the prize was money and a potential interview at a place in Portland to be like the head like designer. And I won, and I got interviewed, and I took the job, and then I went to the job, and like I had to go, like, we worked in a basement, and it was just a few of us, and every so often it was for a law firm, and every so often the phone would ring and they would call us up, and the lady that ran the place was like this like older lady who like was a super powerful lawyer, and she would bring you up and just tear you a new one. Like, I remember going up there and like, I mean, my boss would go up there and he'd be scared to death. I'm not joking. You'd walk down the hall into this lady's office, and she had, every year, she had her assistants build a hall of fame of all the great things she'd accomplished that year.
Oh, my.
Like it was literally pictures of her and things she accomplished every year put in.
It sounds so icky and creepy.
Yep.
And...
So you'd go down this hallway, and I remember sitting down one time, and she was like, you know, she's like, you know the technical stuff. She's like, you just don't have any soul. You just don't.
Wow.
She literally told me that. I mean, this is the kind of stuff she'd say. She threw stuff at people in the room. Like my friend, who I'll leave his name anonymous for his safety, my friend that was my boss, like he got stuff thrown at him and like literally had to like catch it in the air like when it came at him, like to protect himself. Anyways, sometimes she'd come down to the basement. And like she was also like Steve Jobs. If you got in the elevator with her, like you might lose your job. Like if she asks you a question in the elevator and she doesn't like how you answered it, you'd lose your job. Like no joke. Anyways, she'd come down sometimes. She was moving into a different house that was up in the fancy, most expensive area of Portland, but she wanted to move to a more expensive house. So she came down there and said, you guys get into my van. And then she like, I'm a designer. We got a developer. And then we got like our boss of like the design department. She's like, get in the van. And like for like 2 weeks straight, she drove us, like not her, because she has assistants. She doesn't drive. She has assistants drive places. She drove us up there, and we were just like moving boxes out of her like old creepy house and like packing stuff for her.
This gets better.
And like we'd be in the middle of working. I remember one time she was like, these rugs need the dust taken out of them. So like these really expensive rugs. She's like, don't let them touch the ground because they're really expensive. And I remember like we were carrying them and like, you know, when your like muscles are shaking and you can barely hold it because these rugs are gigantic and heavy. And we're holding it, and like two of us are holding up, and then another one's getting like a stick and hitting it so the dust comes out. And she's like, 1, 2, 3. And then she's like,
thank God I went to design school for this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. And I remember it was like 1, 2, 3, go. And like then you'd hit it, then she'd be like 1. Like it was literally like it felt like one of those ships where like the guy is on the thing like telling people like as they do it. And then right as that happens, my wife pulls up like to like drop me off like a surprise for lunch because she's so proud of me for getting this job as like the head of the like design people. And I'm outside like beating carpets like with like the rest of the team. And
dude. Oh no, dude, that is something else.
Dude, it was so bad.
What did your wife say?
Before Christmas. She didn't say anything, but like I eventually told her I was like.
So you're telling me that there wasn't a single soul in all that business that had the ability to they could stand up to her, like everybody just took it. That's so.
The only people that would stand up to her were like, so she owned it, and then there were some people that had gotten like partner status because they'd been there for a long time.
Yeah,
they would stand up a little bit, but they were more like just like on her side. This woman was
some dragon of note.
I am not joking. Of all the men and women I've met in my life, this woman put fear into me. She was horrifying. She was horrifying when she lost it. She completely lost it. She would throw stuff at you. That's why I'm not saying her name. Plus, she's a super powerful attorney. I remember her telling me one time, or telling somebody like on our team one time, she was like, I think she said it when I was in the room with another person. She's like, I charge like $600 or $800 an hour. Raise your hand if that's how much you could get an hour. And you know, she's paying.
I'm taking notes here for how to manage my team. Honestly, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
it's terrible. I love how cutting it is as an insult, the way she's like, you have no soul. What a mean thing to say.
And coming from her too.
Yeah, because she's overflowing with soul.
It was really scary, and I mean, I'm literally not saying her name right now because she was like she's one of the most powerful attorneys in Portland. I'm afraid to say her name because I don't want someone showing up at my door to deliver papers.
Oh, she sounds horrendous.
That is so funny.
It was scary. I literally feel a little scared inside telling you guys a story.
That is I'm flabbergasted. I'm speechless, which is unusual.
I lasted 3 months, and I didn't even give a 2-week notice. I just told my boss, I was like, look, I'm going to stay late tonight to finish up this thing so you don't get in trouble tomorrow, and I'm never coming back.
Is that because you were scared to hand in your notice and then still be around with her having the knowledge that you quit?
No, it was simply that like after she had like yelled at me this one time and told me I had no soul. I mean, she screamed for a long time at me. I was just like, no, like I can't. Like every time that phone rings, I can't be afraid of what's going to be on the other line.
No, exactly. That's just hideous.
When she said you had no soul, she meant in your work, right?
Yeah.
Like, what was so soulless about your work? Did she quantify it?
I think that the task was that she had moved into that new house, so we had just finished doing the labor for her of moving her stuff into her new house. And then like my next task was to do an illustration. She thought that I should be able to do all styles of design work, so she wanted me to do an illustration of her new house for her housewarming like banquet. So she gave me this style of illustration for houses, and I mean, you know, like I tried my best. I did it like 5 times, and finally, like she wasn't happy with any of them, and she called me up there and was just like. Just went off on me, you know, like you have no soul. Like, how could you not do this?
Man, was this as bad as the gorilla?
What?
I did think of the gorilla when you told me.
Yeah.
That gorilla was nothing. I'd say this was equal to about 10,000 of those gorillas.
Yeah, she was King Kong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
How about you, Tom? Have you got any horror stories?
Well, nothing that bad or impressive. Dustin kind of nailed it there, but let me set the scene for you. And I actually think this episode's hopefully going to be genuinely helpful for people because it's kind of like an origin story, right? Because a lot of the bad stuff happens earlier in your career where you have to put up with all of this nonsense.
You don't know you're walking into traps yet.
Yeah, exactly. So
you don't see it coming.
Invariably, being a designer who was young and eager for work, I ended up doing a lot of stuff for restaurants.
Oh yeah,
I think that's quite a common tale.
So Marco, cue like thunder crashing right after
yeah, restaurants. So I ended up, I can't even remember the restaurant's name, but it was some quite fancy Italian restaurant up in London. And I ended up redoing their menus. And so I was like, okay, great. Like, this will be nice. Like, I'm going to show up there. They're going to spoil me with incredible free Italian food and drinks. And I'm going to like sit up there chatting with the attractive waitresses and bang out this menu design, and it's all going to go great, right?
Yeah.
And I show up and they're like, come with me. And they just like usher me down this back stairwell into the basement where all of the opulence of the upstairs restaurant instantly just recedes into the darkness and like cobwebs and terrible atmosphere. And then they kind of take me down a bit within that where I get to like the third level of crap. So it's like the instant bit was instantly like pretty crap. And then they took me like further down into like the really dank part of the basement. And they're like, right, this is like where you're going to work. And it was like it was like I would say a medium-sized cupboard, what they set me up with. Dude. So I'm like, great, okay. So I got set up there. And I swear...
I'm assuming there was like no windows or like a crack of light coming in that you looked
There wasn't. It was all underground.
Where you could slip a little note of help me, please help through the crack.
Yeah, there was nothing. It was just darkness. And they had this computer in there. I bought my laptop, thankfully, but they had this computer that was made in like 1980. Like, again, bearing in mind that they're this pretty like fancy restaurant, they just had all this dated stuff behind the scenes. So
wait, at this point, are you thinking like, cool, I have my own office? Or are you thinking, oh no?
Even though it's in the dungeon.
And no one was there either. It's not like I had someone sitting with me. So they like just
horrible.
left me to it. So I was like, felt like I was miles underground. I'm in this dark cupboard of a room and it's so dingy and there's like crap all over the tables. It's just a mess. And the only light there, I think the light was broken above me, so the only light was like the tiny light coming from this 1980s computer. It was just like this really dim computer light, like illuminating the mess on the desk in front of it. And so I sat down there. I'm like, okay, this is fine. Like, so I got my laptop out. there was too much mess on the desk to like put it on a table, so I had it balanced on my knees. And I'm like, great. So,
that is so bad.
So I'm like hunched over, like my laptop just sat in the dark with my laptop on my knees, and I just kind of get to work, and no one would like come down and check on me or offer me anything. I was just there working, and I think literally like 4 hours would go by, and then someone would come down and just be like, "You done yet?" It's like, no. So,
as much as I want to be done, no.
And so eventually, like I did this whole thing, and I designed it, and the guy came down, and he actually kind of liked it, and there was some tweaks, but ultimately he liked it, and I was like, okay, like, great, this is awesome. And then he's like, oh, how are we gonna edit it though? And I think I'd been told they had like the Creative Suite or something, and they obviously didn't. They had like this terrible old computer and didn't have any Adobe products. So I'm like, oh, like, well, you probably can't, because I had like the source file here that they couldn't open in any way. Yeah. So it was like, oh, okay. And he's like, right, you have to find a solution. I'm like, okay. And so I'm kind of fumbling around. I end up having to go on their computer, which is the worst thing ever, and download GIMP, which this is the one and only time I used GIMP. It is horrendous. It's just like, for anyone who hasn't used it, it's like a horrendous version of Photoshop. It's terrible. And, I kept crashing. So eventually I'm like downloading on their computer. I'm a Mac boy very much at heart. Obviously it's a PC in their office. I'm having all these troubles like working on that and downloading GIMP. I eventually get it working, and then I have to basically piece by piece redo my entire day's worth of work in GIMP in record time. And the guy at this point has come down and he's like physically breathing down my neck, being like, we need this today. Like, how much longer is this going to take? And I'm like frantically trying to work out all the operating system in GIMP, which I've never used before, and be like, this is the worst thing ever. And he's looking at me like, you pathetic amateur, you look like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing was such a hassle. I think in the end, like he then couldn't work out how to edit it in GIMP. So he's just like, this is also useless to me. It's like, great. It was a nightmare. And I think the takeaway is that's such a common thing, right? It's like a metaphor. You get the shiny, glitzy restaurant upstairs, and then you get the dank cupboard room.
Yep.
And that, for me, like sums up my early design career.
Well, think about mine happened in a basement too. They're a big, expensive law firm, and they were like, come down to the basement.
You know, a joke. How many designers are in basements right now? Like,
yeah, please message us and let us know if you work in a basement.
Yeah.
Especially if you can't get out. If there's some client holding you prisoner down there, drop us an Instagram message. We'll try and break you free.
But what I don't get is like, okay, so like, yeah, he had a dark, dingy basement within a basement to put you in, but why didn't he just let you sit at a table in the restaurant? Like what was he ashamed? Like, why would he be like, I've got the perfect spot, and then bring you to like a spider infested corner cupboard?
You know what?
Basement.
I didn't even question that at the time. I just hated every second of it. But that's a very good point. And when I did more restaurant work and I got bit better and found some regular clients, there was a restaurant where I did their website. They were awesome. Sat right in the restaurant with them. They ended up, for ages after I'd done it, like they paid me for it, but for ages after I'd done it, they gave me free food. And they're a pretty expensive restaurant, and it lasted for like years. It was like 2 or 3 years. I went there with my girlfriend on date nights, and right as I was like getting out my wallet to pay, if the owner happened to be in that night and saw me, she'd just run over and tell the waiter to go away and be like, it's on me. So that was awesome.
Because I mean, if I had someone doing my menu, I'd be like, okay, we want the menu to be good. We want it to be done right. Get this guy a nice table in the corner this afternoon. Let's bring him all the breadsticks he wants. You know, let's keep the soda or whatever he's drinking filled up. But it just seems like a really sick power play to put like someone down in a dingy basement. Like,
yeah, right.
But don't you find that some of these kind of like one-off clients? What I mean is clients that don't use designers often. They have that perception of us. They think that we are the bottom feeders, and they treat us like that.
It's true.
I mean, really?
It's reminiscent though. Like even when I used to play locally at pubs and stuff as part of a band, you kind of get the same thing. And I think whether you're in a band or it's a designer, you think you're going to show up like this rock star in the band, and they're going to be throwing free drinks at you all night, and it's going to be great. It's very much like, you're here, you're subordinate to me, now get to work and do your job, and I'm not going to bother to like treat you that well.
Absolutely.
This might be an American thing, because mine was different. They always gave us tons of free drinks, which probably contributed to my alcohol problem. But I mean, they were always like, you get like 4 free drinks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
wow.
I always thought that maybe you get a green room, like, but I think only like maybe like twice in my entire career did I ever have a green room.
That's pretty cool, though.
They would always give us beer, probably because they knew they were screwing us and how much they were paying us.
See, we got paid okay, actually. I mean, we got a couple of free drinks here and there, but it was not what you would imagine. Like, you'd walk in and somehow...
too, am I right, Tom?
They were normally about 55 years old at the time, but yeah.
He doesn't even acknowledge it. He's like, let's keep this podcast from getting canceled.
Oh, no.
Yeah, normally it was just some drunk guy in the corner throwing his underwear at us.
For real?
No, I wish.
Oh.
That would have been hilarious.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah,
wow.
You're totally right, Lisa. There is definitely this perception where we're the little underlings, where it's like, wheel out Igor, go stick him in the basement and like chain him up and get to work. It's so messed up.
It is.
Yeah, like, have you completed the project yet? Yes, master. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. And they also assume that like you don't have your own design aesthetic, and like whatever they say, you know, you're just like the robot that's controlling the screen. You know, so yeah, it's. So, I mean, I'm of course that's only some clients. Some clients, yeah, totally different.
They want to take over your soul. They're like, I'm going to inject my soul into you, and now you design what I love.
Exactly.
And Dustin's there being like, well, I think you'll find I actually don't have a soul, as I was informed of by my past boss. So good luck there.
You don't have a soul. Let me inject my soul into you.
Yes, super messed up.
That's quite a leap. I must say, that's quite a leap from like drawing a house according to her badly or whatever to not having a soul. That's quite something. Wow.
The most vicious insult.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. How about you, Lisa? Any more?
Mine is nowhere near as
stories?
entertaining and as exciting as the two of you.
Lisa, we need you to be brutally honest here. Dig deep. Dig deep. I can see it in your eyes. I can see it when you're taking those big swigs of the red wine you're drinking right now. Something has happened. Something has scarred you so much that you make everything perfect constantly.
There's a lady that's had a hard life.
Well,
that's what he's saying.
There's a crying little girl that's horrified inside somewhere. Where is she? Find her. Find her, Lisa.
Well, you're kind of right, Dustin. But I have to say it's completely 100% self-inflicted. Because I don't know if you guys were the same. When you were new to design, you thought you could pretty much do anything. Like, I mean, you were scared, but you'd say yes anyway.
I can put a swoosh on any logo you need.
Yeah. So I was working full time, and obviously any freelance stuff I got on the side was like a bonus. I heard they were looking for a designer, well, actually a desktop publisher, because it didn't really require design, to redraft the constitution, our constitution, the country's constitution. So you can imagine how many words there are to that. But the glitch,
I don't know. It's South Africa. Isn't there just like one rule, like the president is the boss? Or is it like longer than that?
Oh, he went and got political.
I'm joking. Like I have any room to talk.
Well, that is a horror story in itself, but we won't go there.
All right, cut that out, Marco. Cut that out, Marco. Let's go get some trouble.
Yeah, so the only glitch was that it was in Xhosa, which is one of our African languages, which obviously, well, not obviously, but I can't speak, write, read, or anything. So I thought, well, how hard can it be? Laying out reams and reams of text in a language you don't understand. So
I can see it. I can so see it.
And the other glitch was that you had to do it, like they needed you tonight, and you had to have it done by the next morning at 8:00 for the inauguration or whatever the hell it is. So I thought, okay, cool, I'll do it. Same thing, got there, cold office. It was freezing for some reason. But yeah, got there like after work and wasn't prepared, didn't bring food, didn't bring water, didn't do any of that. I just kind of, ran into it. Sat down and started working on this thing. Now, I have to tell you, this is the part where you said, Dustin, is there something that like you remember that, scarred you for life? Well, the part that scarred me was I wasn't all that proficient in InDesign at the time. And I knew how to use style sheets, but I wasn't really good at like indents and, like kind of paragraph breaks and that kind of things.
So basically like the most important parts.
Yeah, basically. and auto page numbering and stuff like that. So there I sat doing soft returns to create these like indents, and it's like reams and reams.
How many pages do you think?
A
lot.
Probably like maybe 600.
Oh hells no! Oh hells no!
I think I sat down at 6:00 in the evening after work. Yeah. And I worked till they came in the next morning at 8:00 to get that file. Literally, I didn't.
A 14-hour overnight stint.
It was
so if
horrendous.
they were like Lisa, the indentations between like the heading and the paragraph is a little too big. Can you make that smaller? You had to go back and like eliminate one space on every page for 600 pages.
Yeah, if they ever did that, but there was no time. All I can say is whoever got that document after me, the next designer, man, I'm so sorry.
You like going into the metadata trying to make sure there's no information like connected to you about being involved.
And were they happy with it?
Yeah, no, they didn't care as long as it was readable and the headings were there. And I mean, but who knows? Like where I was breaking words, and I mean, it was foreign.
I've had that is hilarious. First of all, and it's so relatable. I've had so many documents where, to be honest, my workflow still isn't that good. Just as I started to improve it, I guess I shifted away from design and more into business. So I used to make nice looking designs, but my workflow was horrendous. And I'd be doing that kind of stuff where I'd be spacing in letters instead of aligning it properly for years and years and years. And so it would never be exact, you know, like every letter would be slightly like a few pixels out and it just looks terrible. Yeah. And oh man, like all of these are bringing it back. And I'm going to say on public record, I am so glad that I'm past that. Like it's a rite of passage. You got to do it. But oh man, it sucked. And I'm not going to pretend that it didn't.
Suck. No, absolutely. So, I mean, all these experiences, you hopefully walk away thinking you've learned something. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the first thing I did was learn paragraph styles and auto things as soon as possible. Yeah.
That's awesome, though. I think it's quite easy for us to become stuck in a rut where we keep making the same mistakes. So every time a project sucks, you do need to think, what can I learn and what can I improve?
Of course, yeah. I guess you need those horror stories to get you there.
Yeah. Oh God, that's making me cringe, though.
It's trauma. Yeah, no, absolutely. But you know that it's a funny thing being a young designer. It's like exciting but scary, and it's like all those horrible feelings and lovely feelings mixed in one. Like you're like a clueless twit that's blissfully happy. You know. But yeah, it works.
Well, you have this idea because especially when you're just starting out, there's like all this like beautiful fantasy of what it's like. You know, I remember for me buying Computer Arts or How Magazine or whatever the magazine might be, right? Like, and like you'd see like these cool studios and you'd see people drawing this cool stuff and making these cool cartoon murals, and everyone had cool like little toys on their desks, and everyone just seemed like they were just living super creative lives and had like these like Converse that like had like little cute drawings that they made on them. I mean, it all seemed like super awesome. And then like you get into it and you realize like, oh, like that's kind of like the 1% or like 0.5% of like designers that really get up there. Like that's not the reality. The reality is that you're like a little cog in the gigantic capitalistic machine who they're trying to squeeze as much efficiency and profit out of as possible. Yeah.
You know what sucks though?
Well, that sucks. But anyway.
Yeah, that does suck too.
That does suck.
It's kind of similar to rock stars and musicians. And I was trying to think, well, does it just suck when you're at the bottom? But then like a rock star, when you're at the top of your game and you're an A-lister, everyone loves you. That's not even true in design. Because when you're an A-lister in the world of design, the only people who care are other designers.
That's so true.
Like we could get all of our heroes in design. The rest of the world does not care. They're literally as like nerdy and unimportant as we are.
Yeah. So with a 10-year experience under your belt, you could still be walking into a basement in some dingy little back room.
Potentially. You know? Yeah, I think you get a bit more sway over clients and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think we're ever going to be like cool outside of design circles, and probably not in them either.
No. Yeah, so true. Oh man.
I wonder if it's ever going to become cool, because you know at the minute there's a bit of a trend, I think, of entrepreneurship becoming cool.
Oh, that's true.
And it never used to be. It used to be super nerdy and all that kind of thing. So you never know. Maybe it will in 10 years' time, 20 years' time be designer's term. One can hope.
I mean, I do think like design's cool in the sense that like, for instance, like if family members or something like that come over and see my office, they're like, this is your office? You know, because, you know, I mean, you can see it. It's not crazy. It's not crazy, but you know, like I have a bunch of stuff that looks like really could be like a kid's room. A lot of this feels like a kid's room inside, and people are like, "Whoa, this is neat." I mean, people think that's neat. Like the other day, I was in the Fred Meyer with my daughter, and we were walking past the beer section, and I always slow down at the beer section because I know that I recognize fonts on the beer bottles a lot, and I saw my font on one of the beers, and so I told my daughter, I was like, sweetie, like you see that? Like I was like,
that's awesome. Which one?
It was just some like microbrew. I don't even know. I didn't pay attention that much. I didn't even take a picture of it.
Really
I just was like, honey, I was like, that's like daddy's what daddy does for work. Like, that's one of daddy's fonts. And you could tell the lady next to me looking for beer, she was like, turned around and gave a look like, really?
Really?
Impressive.
That's cool.
She's like, whoa, the dude that like, I mean, she probably thought I did the whole bottle. I actually just sold the font that like was put on the bottle. You could tell she was like, whoa, guy behind this is standing next to me. So cool. That was the closest I've ever felt to like
feeling cool.
See, for me, it's that I'm out for dinner and I'm like, oh, that's one of our fonts. It happens all the time as well because we obviously sell other people's fonts and collaborate.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend's like, yeah, you said that the last 17 times we went out.
Yeah, they just don't get it, do they? Oh,
I know. Shame on them.
Von Glitchka, he's like an illustrative designer.
I follow him. He's awesome.
He's awesome. He does. If you don't follow him, you should follow him. Especially, I mean, everywhere you should follow him, but on Twitter, because if you want to see the most honest, brutal feedback on Adobe Illustrator, follow his Twitter. The guy holds nothing back. The funniest part about it is he's part of like their testing team. So like they give him like the software early to like get his feedback and whatnot. And the guy's constantly calling him out, like tagging him, being like, you guys, like get your act together. Like this is like embarrassing. Like, what are you guys doing? Anyways, I was talking to him. I was like, man, dude, you're like a design celebrity, man. And he's like, he has glasses, pushed it back. I don't know, man. He's like, being a design celebrity is kind of like saying you're like a plumber celebrity. He's like, nobody cares except for other plumbers.
No one gives a damn.
That's so true.
Well, maybe we can get him to tell them to put the dragging devil. What?
Yeah, the devil dragging his ass.
Yes, that.
Yeah, he'd probably love that idea. He'd probably even more love the idea of the picture of the developers coming up on the screen when it's starting to crash.
Oh, yes.
Talk to him. Get him to tweet at them.
Like how hilarious would it be if like it was like a wanted cowboy poster and it was like wanted, and then it showed the error below wanted for like violation of like 471.2 like invalidation JavaScript error or something like that, and then his email address.
I love it. Oh man, I'd be happy.
So, any other horror stories, guys? While we're in the mood,
you guys sound like that you had loads.
I do have another one that was it was a horror story, but it went on for a whole year. But I can condense it real quick.
Oh man,
it was when I was first starting. It was a cloudy and rainy day because I live in the Northwest, and it's always like that every single day.
For the YouTube version, can you turn out all your lights and hold your phone light under your chin?
That's hilarious.
Dun, dun, dun. It was a cloudy and rainy day because I live in the Pacific Northwest, and it's like that every day except for like 8 days out of the year. And I really needed money because it was embarrassing when I'd see my in-laws and they'd ask, how is it going with your business? And I'd be like, I made $0. So this guy came to me and said, can you redo my site for my landscaping business? And I was like, I can do that. He's like, it's on WordPress. I was like, I can do that. He's like, cool. He's like, I can pay you $1,500. I was like, cool. And then I did his website for a whole year, probably 20 hours a week, nonstop, because I never did a contract telling him like how much work I do or having specs to it. It went on for a year until I finally told him that I was willing to give back the $1,500 if that's what he needed, because I had to get out of this crazy modern day slavery that I put myself into.
I will pay you to leave me alone.
Dude, it's serious. I was literally like, I need to get out of this. I was like, I'll do whatever. Like,
did you give the money back?
I'll pay you more. No, I didn't. I just like kept being like, for maybe like 3 months, this is it. This is it. This is where like it's done. This is where it's done.
Oh man.
He wanted like, he was a really big fan of, are you familiar with like, I think it's called Mondrian design?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I'm probably saying it wrong. It's like where it's like red. It's an artist, something Mondrian or something. He's like, has like it's a bunch of squares. It's one of those guys where at first you're kind of like, how did this guy like ever like get famous as an artist? It's like just like red, blue, yellow squares with maybe like a line going down it. Anyways, people are going to hear this and be like, this guy's great. You're ignorant. It's probably true. I am probably ignorant about that. The guy's super famous. He probably did something huge. Anyways, this landscape designer was a huge fan of his. And just to like add some character to it, like he had like a Latino accent, which I just mean just like to try to help you describe it. I'm, for people that don't know, married to a Latino. I'm a big fan of the Latino community. But just imagine like someone with Latino accent talking to me. And he was like, I don't understand like why like you think like, because I tried to ask him for more money. He's like, I don't understand why you think you should get more money, because he's like, I practically designed this for you, because like he like got crayons and markers and like drew it out for me, and it was like all these like geometric shapes, and he was like, and in this geometric shape will be a picture of like this thing I worked on, and then this geometric shape will be this, and then these will just be like colored tiles.
Wow.
It was like a CSS WordPress nightmare.
That's horrible.
Like I literally cried. Like I would wake up at night and like I'd like literally need my wife to hold me and just like be like, can you just like rub my head and just like and just like
Well,
like I just yeah.
I'm sure that was a valuable lesson though. I mean, I'm sure you learned that you should never do that.
Oh, I
again.
learned.
Yeah.
I definitely learned.
I think the scary part for me is I feel like I've been that client to some extent. Not with the ridiculous brief, but I've done similar stuff with developers. And I know there's some designers which are the same, where even though we are like, oh, woe is me, I shouldn't be treated in that way, we're the same when it comes to like back-end coders and stuff, where it's like, can't you just do it and like do it quickly because I need it to work? And then I know I've worked with people previously where I'm like paid for a job or spec'd out a job, and then I'm like, oh yeah, and can you just add this bit on? It'll just be quick, and like then plug that in, and then I need that. And you keep adding bits. And then I remember being like, why are they pushing back so much? Like, it's all part of the same job. Like, the job is my website. Why won't they just add that on? Even though it was totally outside of the spec. And in my mind, I'm like, they just need to add that button on, not realizing that's going to be 2 days of coding to get it to look right.
Yeah.
And that's what you call... Lisa, what's that called?
Karma.
Project Creep.
Yeah, very true.
That's so true.
I thought maybe this would let you know I'm at creep.
Creepy crawly.
I'm wiggling my fingers.
Sorry, I didn't get it, Dustin.
Sorry.
Next time I need a little flashcard.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
anyway,
yeah.
I hope this was sufficiently spooky for everyone. Super quick, what are you guys going to do for Halloween? Bearing in mind we're recording this a week before it goes out, but have you guys got any plans? Is that big in South Africa?
Not really. We don't. Yeah, it's not really.
Really?
The kids sometimes come around, but not much.
Yeah, and then you're like, Cliff, tell them to piss off away from my front door.
For some strange reason, they just don't come to our house.
Maybe there's a rumor going around that you're like a witch or something.
Exactly. Like you're making all these beautiful kids drawings inside, but they just think of you as like, oh no, it's spooky Lady Glands up on the hill, on the bluff.
All the other women in the neighborhood are like driving to work and stuff in the day, and you're always up in that top room with your the shadow of you against the window. Like,
we're going to get a bunch of comments from people that are listening. They're going to be like, actually, Halloween's really popular in South Africa. It will just turn out that Lisa is like very like evil, and she's like, I hate children, and like it's not very popular here. No one ever talks about Halloween or knocks on the door occasionally unless they're really brave.
Well, it's
Lisa's like, Cliff, tell them to go away and grab you some wine while you're right up.
And in the UK, is it popular there, Tom?
I think everything's getting gradually and increasingly Americanized. So, yeah not to the same extent as America. So, yeah, there will be some stuff going on. I think generally people celebrate it not on the day if it's a weekday, but like whatever weekend falls closest. It's basically an excuse for everyone in London just to get super drunk and dress up like idiots, which I can stand
I thought we picked it up from you guys.
Really?
Haven't you guys been doing Hallows Eve for like hundreds of years?
I don't know. I feel like not. I feel like it's an American thing, but I'm sure someone's going to correct me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely commercialized it to try to like suck as much money out of people as possible. But I can picture like them doing it more charmingly in England.
Yeah.
You know, where it was just like a fall festival with like costumes.
You have the sweetest sort of like I don't know, thing about England. You think everything's so. It's quite endearing.
I know. I really hope it holds up when you visit. You're going to come over and be like mugged on your first day and be like, I hate this place.
I did hear that something about someone getting mugged when they went there.
Oh yeah,
that kind of ruined it.
That'll happen.
Yeah, I guess you don't picture it because you figure you guys don't like you have like gun control and things like that much more than the United States. So you're like, oh, that can happen. But all you need is a club, right? You guys have plenty of what, billy clubs or something you call them? What do you call those things?
What? You're thinking of knives? I'm not sure I've ever heard of someone being mugged by a club wielding maniac.
Me neither.
Oh, well, I don't know how it works in the UK. I picture you guys going around with little tiny clubs that you're just like, give me the money, mate. Like, or
clubs.
Give me the money, bloke. Or I don't know, whatever you guys say there.
You little rascal.
It's like one step away from coming at you with a pineapple.
Give me every pound you have, or I'll hit you with my billy club.
That is good. I like that. Oh,
you could have a guy pull a knife on you. Oh, that's so charming and quaint.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'll give you my money. Can we get a selfie? Oh my gosh, knock on wood in case something like that happens. So for me, I got kids. Some of you know. So we're going to go trick or treating. We have a nice neighborhood. It's like kind of a go-to neighborhood where a lot of people like from different neighborhoods will come and go.
Wow, that's
trick or treating. Like there's even people here. It's crazy. There's like some people will set up like one house sets up a wine station where the parents can go and like get free wine and they can carry it around in goblets as they trick or treat with their kids.
Oh, someone's looking for new friends. That is a shrewd move.
Yeah, because how do you like ignore the person and say, oh, hey, remember me? I'm the one that gave you like free wine. Like you got to say hi.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my daughter's being a unicorn. My oldest daughter. Yeah, my middle daughter is being one of the Incredibles, like the female Incredible, the girl Incredible. So she's got like this cool little black mask that goes over her eyes and like the cape.
I think I'd be that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't figure out with my middle daughter. She's like she likes dancing, ballerinas, unicorns, stuff like that, like my oldest daughter. But like something was just quite not the same. And then like we got her this superhero outfit and it just like energized her. It was like electricity. And I was like, that's it.
That's it.
Like she likes dancing, she likes ballet, but she's really into this idea of being a superhero, hiding behind things, jumping out of places, pushing the little button that makes like electricity and sounds happen.
That's really sweet.
So yeah, it's so real cool. Cute. Yeah, so we'll go trick or treating with them. I'll tell you what, trick or treating when your kid is fun. Being a parent, watching your kids go trick or treating and the joy they get, it's fun. So we'll just be doing that.
Yeah. That's the thing with having kids. You're so lucky because then you can go along and have all that fun. It would be weird if you were just...
Their life revolves around candy. Imagine a day comes where you get to dress up in costumes and just go ask everyone for candy and they give it to you. It's like a dream come true.
It is.
I know what you mean though, Lisa. You don't want to be the solo 40-year-old man in the midst of that.
Kids.
Hey, kids.
Hey, kids. Got any candy?
No, that's really sweet though. Good dad.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But if you don't have kids and you're hanging out at home giving candy out, watch Fright Night. It's so cool. And if you don't think it is, you should message me and be like, hey, Dustin, that was super lame. Like, tell me either way. Message me on Twitter or whatever and be like, it was awesome. Or message me and be like, dude, why did you waste my time?
So
it's a deal.
On that note, to everyone listening at home, I hope you have a very spooky evening, whatever you're doing, whether it's with family or you're standing with a glass of wine, watching Fright Night and tweeting at Dustin that it sucks. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But I hope everyone has a incredible Halloween. And we'll catch you next week.
A scary Halloween.
Your normal laugh.
Wait, can you do a creepy little witch laugh real quick, Lisa?
Yeah. Oh man, it is creepy.
Oh,
creepy lady glands in the house on the hill.
Oh,
those kids were very perceptive.
Wow, that was good. Yeah. If you did that when I came to your door, I would be so gone. Be like, we don't go there ever again. That was good, Lisa.
Cool.
Props.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com or find us over on iTunes and now Spotify by searching for The Honest Designers Show. And remember, we're now on social media too if you search for Honest Designers. If today's episode helped you, then it would mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is one of the best ways for other designers to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.